Good afternoon, everyone. It's David Schlotthauer here in the home weather office with an urgent update on Tropical Storm Philippe as it is dangerously close and over some of the Leeward Islands at this point, making several landfalls on those islands, bringing a lot of rainfall, strong winds, and also some high surf. We're going to break down all those details in this video. Looking at the latest infrared satellite imagery provided by tropicaltidbits.com, and we can clearly see that the system is fairly robust, at least in some sense, depending on how you look at it and how you interpret it. But we can see that the low-level circulation, if you make it out here, getting kind of exposed sometimes by these clouds, but the latest retrieval here indicates that the center, if we kind of forward this, right in here is where the center might be. So passing right over that little island, and we'll be looking at that closer on exactly where the center is on the recon aircraft, but you can see a little swirl there with a lot of the deep convection that is off to the south and the southeast of the circulation, which indicates that the shear is really taking a toll on Philippe as we speak. Now, looking at radar Omega here, we can see that the center is near Corrington, or Condrington, if I said that correctly. I hope I did. There's an island here, and the recon mission did find that the circulation is somewhere right off the coast. So this is, once again, kind of moving off towards the west-northwest, and it has not been really listening to a lot of the background environment. We were hoping that this would turn much sooner off to the north, but this has been just going further west over the past several hours, and that just means it's going to be continuing to move that way. And the question remains now, how close could this get to Puerto Rico? We know this is not going to weaken entirely. We know it's going to maintain its intensity, as we can see here on the latest NHC, with winds that are now at 50 miles an hour, moving off towards the west-northwest at 7 miles an hour. And there's a tropical storm warning, and it remains hard to tell exactly where this is going, and that's why, even so this is moving off towards the west-northwest, they are forecasted that the system will launch north-northwest in the next few hours. If that happens at all, we'll just have to wait and see. But until that happens, right now, if this gets further west, tropical storm watches or warnings could be needed over Puerto Rico and some of the Virgin Islands in the next couple of hours, or in the next 6 or so hours, as this is kind of defining a lot of the forecast at the moment. So looking at the most likely arrival time of tropical storm force winds, there is a slim chance on some of those islands, and boy, this is moving so slow, it is very hard to tell exactly when this is going to impact with tropical storm force winds, but we're thinking from about now all the way through Tuesday night, tropical storm force winds are possible or expected on some of the Virgin Islands. Again, depending on how close this exactly gets will depend on your impact. But regardless of how strong winds actually get, this is going to be a pretty robust system, generating lots of deep convection, lots of heavy rainfall at times. Tropical storm conditions are expected across Barbuda and Antigua beginning this evening, while Philippe passes near and north of the area. Interest elsewhere in the northern Leeward Islands should continue to monitor this system. Heavy rainfall from Philippe could produce isolated to scattered flash flooding over the northern Leeward Islands, particularly across Barbuda and Antigua through Tuesday. Looking at the latest GFS, or the latest Euro model, and this has been a very tough situation to forecast for a while now. The Euro has probably done by far the best out of most of the forecasts, because we were thinking that this is going to turn north here, then eventually kind of did a little bit of a dive, and it's just not gaining latitude quickly enough. And so therefore, there are impacts over these islands expected overnight tonight. And you can see moderate to heavy rainfall throughout the day, or throughout the night tonight, all the way throughout Tuesday. So just keep that in mind. If you're doing anything outdoors, lots of heavy rainfall, strong winds, some surf is expected. And again, now assuming that this continues to do with what the Euro shows, if we look at the previous run from yesterday, we can see a pretty similar outcome. But take note now, though, that it is a little further to the south and west. So we're seeing a trend here a little further west. And the concerning thing is, will that trend continue because of where of it defining a lot of the forecasts? That is to be announced. Looking at the GFS model here, this is over the next 60 hours. And actually, let's back it out. Let's go to 24 hours out. And we can see the system is right where we think it is, right? Pretty well modeled here. And it thinks it is going to turn north, assuming that that vortex gets better vertically aligned. Now, again, the shear is very tough to forecast with the system, let alone. And so if the system remains this shallow, it's probably going to end up headed more west-northwest, but it shouldn't be able to intensify because of the shear that the system is running into. But a very tough forecast to see now exactly where this is going to be, and therefore the best way to put this is we're only going to go out to 5 days with the forecast because some of the models are just all over the place. But right now, the GFS has this going further north than what the Euro shows, which is further west. And there's a lot of disagreement on that. The Canadian model's in between of that, with the Icon model pretty much with the Euro and the Canadian model in itself. So maybe a near close call to Bermuda, which is right here. You can see the little dot. That's Bermuda. So this can get a little uncomfortably close to that area. And then eventually, maybe Nova Scotia. We shall wait and see. Rainbow Obsidian lives over there. She was asking me, is this going to still hit Nova Scotia? Well, there's a chance that it could, Rainbow Obsidian. Again, very tough to forecast this all the way out beyond day 5. Now, another thing I did want to show you all is the ensemble, the global computer ensembles. This is the hurricane models, by the way. Let's kind of look at that. And we have wild outcomes still over here versus over here right into Nova Scotia. So there's a big uncertainty in regards to where this is going to go. Now, another one I want to show you all is the GEFS. This is the Global Ensemble Forecasting System, and it also shows wild outcomes. This is day 5. Very, like, a huge cone of uncertainty remains, and this is day 7, day 8, and day 9. I mean, kind of like a big tree of possible scenarios that remains with Philippe. And Philippe has been one of the trickiest systems so far this hurricane season out of any other that we've been dealing with. And so with it being this tricky, we just don't know where it's going to be headed towards. All right, well, that's going to cut this video is rather short, you all. I decided to fit that in very quickly. I'm actually going to head off here and sign off for the night. I have a lot going on with my family, and so we're cutting this really short. But I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider sharing, liking, and subscribing. You guys are awesome, and I'll be back with you more on the system if necessary tomorrow. It might be one of those pop-up deals where I might do a US forecast and then this pops up and I might need to make a video on it. But we're not sure. There's going to be something, though, for the channel tomorrow. Share, like, and subscribe, and I'll be back with you more tomorrow.